Bienvenidos, clase. It's your maestro, Señor Lim here, and I want today to talk to you about los verbos de ER and ER. Okay, so these are ER and IR verbs. They're very similar to the AR verbs, so hopefully you have built on that concept. So we're going to build a little bit more. So before I begin, I want to just give you a little historia de mí, a little history about myself. Alright, now I try to stay healthy. I'm not getting any younger, so I do try to stay healthy. And how I do that is, um, I do drink a glass of Metamucil a day. I drink Metamucil. Yes, I have to stay regular. So you can laugh all you want, but I do drink my Metamucil. Okay, so I do drink Metamucil every day at night. I also try to run every day. I run about 3 miles a day. So I try to get that done. Running has been a little bit problem of mine now because I have plantar fasciitis, but it's alright. But I do try to run every day. Okay. Now I'm not trying to be a health nut. I'm not all healthy and stuff like that because there are some things that do tempt me. The one thing that I do love is my peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I'm looking at this right now and I want a peanut butter and jelly sandwich right now. So I do eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches every day, just about every day. And they're not as neat as this one right here. This one is like nicely made. I just slap on some peanut butter and bread and fold it up and make myself a nice half sandwich. Okay. And I've been also known to eat like sides of beef by the poundage. Um, I love a nice piece of steak. I could eat 2, 3, 5 pounds of steak easily. Well, not 5, but I've been known to eat a lot of meat back in the day, and still today. Now I'm getting a little bit older, so I can't hold much weight. So, anyways, those are some of the things. But here's the correlation: I eat, I drink, I run. Hey, I wonder how you say those things in Spanish. Now, before we begin anything else, okay, I want to review. So, por favor, primero las repasemos. Let's review. I have this thing called AR verbs. Remember those AR verbs? Do you remember the first thing that we do when we conjugate an AR verb? Remember, that's the first thing that we do is take off that AR, right? That AR ending. Now, what are my endings for the regular AR verbs? Well, here they are right here. Now you have to remember, let's bring conjugations back, okay? So, remember, here are my endings for the for AR verbs. They go o, as, a, amos, ais, an. O, as, a, amos, ais, an. Okay? And those are all for the AR verbs. The AR verbs. Notice that's o, as, a, amos, ais, an. Notice that they're all A's there because it's an AR verb. Keep in mind with that. Okay? So, those are all my endings for the AR verbs. Okay? Okay, so if we conjugated the verb tocar, it'll be toco, tocas, toca, tocamos, tocais, and tocan. Right? So basically we did take off that AR ending right here and then added these endings right here. Now, let's think of some ER and IR verbs. Okay, we kind of went over this, but hey, here are some ER and IR verbs I have. Beber is to drink, that's an ER. Comer, to eat. Leer is to read. Aprender is to learn. Correr is to run. Look at they all end with ER. Hacer. This one's a tricky one. It's in stars, but hacer means to do and to make. Vender is to sell. Alright, now I got some IR verbs. I have escribir is to write. Compartir is to share. Alright, so those are some of my verbs right there. Okay, they all begin with ER and IR. Now, the very first thing that you have to do is you have to take off that ER and IR ending. Okay, so whatever it ends with, take off that ER, IR, or IR. Okay, so here are my endings for the ER verbs. Okay, they go like this: O es A, amos es N. I would say it one more time. O es A, amos, ace, and N. Okay, so those are my endings for ER verbs. Okay, notice it's ER, so instead of having an A here, it's an E. Okay, or instead of an it's an A. Okay, so those are the endings. Remember, like for example, let's take comer. Take off the ER, you're left with com, and then all you have to do is add these endings right here. Como, comes, come, comemos, comeis, and comer. Okay? Alright, so those are the ER verbs. Okay? Let's take a look at the IR verbs. In the IR verbs, it's the same thing. Like for example, compartir. You take off the IR, and then you add the endings. Now the endings are very similar except for two forms. So take a look at my endings. Okay, so we have O, ace, A, just like the ER verbs, emos, is, and N. Now, the only two that are different are the vosotros and nosotros. Those are the two that are a little bit tricky, a little bit different, okay? Because it's an IR verb, because it ends with IR, it gets an emos and is. Okay, that's where the change comes from. Okay, so let's take a look at both of them. Let's compare the two. Okay, thumb and thumb. There you go. All right, so take a look at them. Okay, they're all the endings are the same. So if you know how to conjugate the ER verbs, you know how to conjugate the IR verbs because they're basically the same thing. All right, except for the emos and then the es. Okay, I will also say I'm a person that totally digs patterns. If you look at this, if you think of like the AR verbs, always with the yo form, always in the yo form, it's always ends with an O. About 99% of the time. Now we have like voy and soy. Yeah, they don't end with O, but for the most part, it has an O here. So that needs to, so the yo form always ends with an O. Okay, so then you have ace, a, amos, ace, and n. Okay, so those are my conjugations, and that's pretty much it. Okay, I do want to go over one last thing. We have the verb hacer. Hacer, remember, means to do or to make. Now, it's a little irregular. When we go into the form of hacer, the yo form, it goes to ago. Okay, it's not ako, it's ago. So that G, or that C, changes to a G, and that's only in the yo form. Everything else is totally cool. It's tu haces, hace, nosotros hacemos, so on and so forth. So hacer, remember I told you to star that one. Hacer was a little tricky, that's why it's going to be ago. Okay? So, vamos a practicar. Boom. Okay? Now, I want you to right now to conjugate aprender and escribir. I want you to pause it, and then I want you to get my conjugations. And now if you have unpaused it, here's my slide right here. Aprendo, aprendes, aprende, aprendemos, aprendéis, and aprenden. Okay. The next one is escribir, es escribo, escribes, escribe, escribimos. Notice I underlined this right here and put it in red. Escribís and escriben. No, my apologies. This escribimos should be right here in the second column there. Okay. So that's basically the conjugations. Okay, let's continue on practicing. Okay, this should be in your notes. Okay. Now we have comer. I want you to conjugate comer in the forms that you see here. Okay. So conjugate comer is an ER verb. It's yo, Alejandra y yo, and Marta y Juan. Pause it, and then let me hear your answers. If you unpause it, here's your answers right here. Thump. It's yo como, Alejandra y yo comemos, and Marta y Juan comen. Who's 3x3? Raise your hand. Right on, man. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Beber. Let's keep it real here now. Vosotros, blank agua, blank 2 refrescos, and Maria blank jugo de naranja. Pause it. Answer my questions and don't go to the next slide, and we'll go from there. Ready? Pause. Alright, now if you unpaused it, this is your answers right here. Thump. It says, vosotros bebéis agua, bebes tú refrescos, and María bebe jugo de naranja. Okay? Thump. Compartir. You know the drill. Pause it. And then unpause it when you're done. Pause. So if you unpause it, these are your answers right here. Thump. Comparto, compartimos, and compartís. Alright? So those are your answers for compartir. And that's the end of it, okay? That's the end of the slide. That was pretty quick, pretty painless. We'll get practicing with this. The main thing is you have to know those endings and you have to know the rule. And that's about it, okay? If you could do this, it'll be pretty easy, okay? So this is Senor Lim. I am out of here. I'm going to tell you to keep it real and keep studying. Adios. Peace. I'm out.